Our story begins not in the mighty city of Tenochtitlán, but in the distant past, long before the Aztecs became an empire. They were once wanderers, a small group of people searching for their destined home. Guided by prophecy, they roamed the valleys of Mesoamerica, carrying their gods and traditions with them. But where did they come from? According to legend, the ancestors of the Aztecs came from a mystical land called Aztlan, often described as an island paradise in the middle of a lake. It is from this legendary place that the Aztecs, who called themselves the Mexica, began their long journey southward, guided by their patron god, Huitzilopochtli, the god of war and the sun. But this journey was no simple migration, it was a sacred mission. Huitzilopochtli had given them a prophecy. They would know their true home when they saw an eagle perched on a prickly pear cactus, devouring a serpent. And so, they wandered for years, through lands controlled by powerful civilizations like the Toltecs and the Tepanecs, surviving as mercenaries, waiting for the sign. By the early 1300s, the Mexica arrived in the Valley of Mexico, a region dominated by established city-states. These were sophisticated societies with large cities, advanced agriculture, and powerful rulers. The Mexico were seen as outsiders, unrefined, uncultured, and even barbaric to some. Without a land to call their own, the Mexico were forced to settle in one of the least desirable areas, a swampy region in the middle of Lake Texcoco. But rather than being defeated by their circumstances, they adapted. They learned to build artificial islands, called chinampas, to grow crops, and they became fierce warriors, offering their military services to stronger city-states in exchange for protection. Then, the prophecy was fulfilled. As the story goes, in the year 1325, the Mexica finally witnessed the divine sign they had been waiting for. An eagle, perched on a prickly pear cactus, holding a snake in its beak. Here, on the marshy land of Lake Texcoco, they would build their great city, Tenochtitlán. What began as a small settlement on an island grew into one of the most magnificent cities of the ancient world. The Mexico were no longer just wanderers, they were now the Aztecs, an ambitious, powerful civilization that would soon dominate Mesoamerica. But how did they rise to power so quickly? That is the story of our next chapter, the rise of an empire. From humble origins, the Aztecs would forge an empire of warriors, priests, and rulers. But greatness would come at a cost, and their thirst for power would shape their destiny, for better or for worse. From humble beginnings, the Mexica, now known as the Aztecs, were no longer just a wandering people. By the mid-14th century, their city of Tenochtitlán was growing, but survival was not guaranteed. They were surrounded by larger, more powerful civilizations, and to thrive, they had to fight, adapt, and strategize. At first, the Aztecs survived by offering their military services to powerful neighbors like the Tepanecs of Azcapotzalco. Their reputation as fierce warriors grew, but so did their ambitions. They were no longer satisfied with being subordinates, they wanted power of their own. The turning point came in 1428. The Tepanec rulers, who had once controlled the Valley of Mexico, became tyrannical. The Aztecs, led by the ambitious ruler Izcóatl, saw an opportunity. They formed a secret alliance with two other city-states, Texcoco and Tlacopan. Together, they waged war against their former overlords, crushing the Tepanecs and seizing control. With the Tepanecs defeated, the balance of power shifted. The Triple Alliance was born, and at its heart was the rising power of Tenochtitlán. The Aztecs were no longer just a city, they were the leaders of an empire. With their military might established, the Aztecs expanded their rule. One by one, neighboring city-states fell before them. Through diplomacy, intimidation, and sheer force, they built one of the most powerful empires Mesoamerica had ever seen. From the Gulf of Mexico to the Pacific Ocean, their influence spread. The empire was built on a system of tribute. Conquered peoples were required to send vast amounts of goods, gold, food, textiles, and even human captives for religious sacrifices. This wealth fueled the splendor of Tenochtitlán, making it the jewel of the Aztec world. The Aztecs prided themselves on their military prowess. At the heart of their army were the elite warriors, the Jaguar and Eagle Knights, feared across Mesoamerica. War was not just about conquest, it was also a deeply religious duty. Battles were often fought not just to kill, but to capture enemies for sacrifice, a practice believed to please the gods and maintain cosmic order. To the Aztecs, war was sacred, Their empire thrived on strength, but it also depended on fear. Those who resisted their rule faced total destruction. But while their military dominance was unmatched, it would not last forever. Their thirst for power and tribute would ultimately sow the seeds of their downfall. At the height of its power, Tenochtitlán was one of the most extraordinary cities in the world. Built on a lake, it was a masterpiece of engineering and design. Canals served as roads, aqueducts carried fresh water into the city, and towering temples stood as monuments to the gods. With vast wealth flowing in from conquered lands, the city flourished. Its markets offered goods from every corner of the empire: jade, cacao, exotic feathers, and obsidian weapons. But beneath this grandeur lay an empire built on constant war, expansion, and human sacrifice. And as history has shown, no empire can expand forever. In their quest for dominance, they had made many enemies, and not all of them were within their empire. Across the ocean, an unforeseen danger was approaching, one that would bring devastation unlike anything they had ever known. By the late 15th century, the Aztec Empire had reached its peak. It was a time of prosperity, expansion, and unmatched power. At the heart of it all stood Tenochtitlán, one of the most magnificent cities in the world, a testament to the strength and ingenuity of the Aztec civilization. Under the leadership of powerful rulers like Moctezuma I and Ahuitzotl, the empire expanded rapidly, bringing wealth, tribute, and prestige. It was an era of monumental architecture, complex governance, and military supremacy. But it was also an empire sustained by war and sacrifice, one that demanded constant expansion to maintain its dominance. At its peak, Tenochtitlán was home to over 200,000 people, making it one of the largest cities in the world at the time. Built on an island in Lake Texcoco, it was a masterpiece of urban planning and engineering. 3 great causeways connected it to the mainland, while aqueducts brought fresh water into the city, ensuring a clean and efficient water supply. To feed its growing population, the Aztecs perfected the Chinampa system, man-made islands that provided a steady food supply. These floating gardens turned the lake into a vast agricultural hub, ensuring that the empire never went hungry. At the heart of the city stood the Templo Mayor, the grand pyramid dedicated to the gods Huitzilopochtli and Tlaloc. This temple was not only a center of worship, but also a stage for rituals that reinforced the power and divine right of the Aztec rulers. Aztec society was a well-organized hierarchy. At the top sat the Tlatoani, the supreme ruler, considered a living god. Below him were the noble class, priests, and elite warriors, who held immense power and influence. The merchant class, known as Pacheca, played a crucial role, trading exotic goods and intelligence across the empire. Farmers and artisans formed the backbone of society, while prisoners of war and debtors became slaves, often destined for sacrifice. The markets of Tenochtitlán were legendary. The grand marketplace of Tlatelolco could hold as many as 60,000 people at once, offering goods from every corner of the empire. Here, one could find everything from fine textiles to rare tropical birds, demonstrating the vast reach of Aztec trade networks. Religion was the foundation of Aztec life. The Aztecs believed that the universe was locked in an eternal struggle between order and chaos, and to maintain balance, the gods demanded nourishment in the form of human blood. The most revered god of the Aztecs was Huitzilopochtli, the sun god and patron of Tenochtitlán. According to legend, he required human hearts to keep the sun moving across the sky. As a result, war and sacrifice became essential to Aztec society. Prisoners captured in battle were brought to the Templo Mayor, where their hearts were offered to the gods in grand ceremonies witnessed by thousands. The Aztecs were not just warriors, they were also skilled astronomers and mathematicians. Their sacred calendar, the Tonalpahuli, guided religious rituals and warfare, while their knowledge of celestial movements allowed them to track time with remarkable accuracy. The strength of the empire depended on its ability to control conquered peoples. Cities that fell under Aztec rule were required to pay tribute, offering vast amounts of food, feathers, gold, and even captives for sacrifice. This wealth fueled the empire, allowing it to build magnificent structures and sustain its growing population. But this dominance came at a cost. The Aztecs ruled through fear, and resentment grew among the subjugated peoples. Though their empire seemed invincible, the seeds of rebellion were already beginning to sprout. Enemies watched, waiting for the right moment to strike. Despite their golden age, omens of doom began to appear. The Aztecs recorded strange events, mysterious flames in the sky, unnatural floods, and ghostly voices warning of catastrophe. For years, the Aztecs spoke of strange omens, flaming comets, ghostly voices, and temples mysteriously catching fire. The priests whispered of a great change, a calamity that would reshape the empire forever. But no one could have imagined that fate would arrive in the form of pale-skinned strangers from across the sea. Let us stop here for today and keep it up next time, where we would delve deeply into how the Aztecs lost their empire. Thanks for tuning into the past. Don't forget to subscribe and join us next time for more stories that shaped our world.